Hey guys, it's Rob here. Today we're trying something new and picking three what if videos that are too small to be made into their own video and covering them here. I got the idea after so many people have given me ideas that I know I can't turn into a full video, but could definitely work in a video like this where three different ideas get their time to shine. You've already seen one of these ideas based on the title and thumbnail, so I want to thank Big Redo 346, I Love the Rockafire, and Thomas Fan 2000 for requesting today's ideas. Also, want to thank all these people for requesting them as well, albeit later on. As usual, I won't really be doing any research for this video, going off of only what I know and what happened before the differences in the timeline start, in order to make decisions on what would happen next. Since this is my first time doing something like this, let me know what ways I can improve this new subseries in the comment section below. Without further ado, let's start with the idea. What if the first Chuck E. Cheese never closed? For a bit of context, the first Chuck E. Cheese was Winchester in San Jose, California, opening in May of 1977 and closing in 1985, which is quite unfortunate seeing as that's quite early for such an iconic store to close. While the building did stick around for a while, it became a Chinese seafood place before being demolished in 2002, and the area became part of a shopping center. So, where do we start? Well, I think the easiest thing for them to do here is simply not close the store. While this might seem like a bad financial move if it wasn't doing well, you have to remember that this was their first store and that in the long run, this could be a good store to keep around. They would have instead closed some other random store that wasn't doing well. I'm not sure what that would have been. At first, the store would have been standard for the time, and probably would have received the 1988 remodel around the same time as other stores would have received it. Cooser worked this way, so I believe Winchester would have as well. Probably between 1988 and 1991 is when Winchester would have received it, getting the usual colored checkers, repainted walls, and new decor, plus a new exterior with the Chuck E. Cheese's pizza logo. I also imagine around this time that they would have received either the rocker stage or the C stage, whichever they deemed more suitable for the store. Sometime in the mid 90s, they would remodel to the major 90s remodel, receiving another new exterior, the Cool Chuck exterior, and also changing all the art in the store, and all the other things that came with the major 90s remodel. A two-stage would also be installed around the same time. Things would have remained the same until around 2005 to 2007, when they would receive the 2005 update to the 2003 Cool Chuck reconfiguration, getting a new exterior, painting some walls purple, tearing down the showroom walls and the balcony seating, and replacing older decor with newer decor. The Chuck at this location would of course be changing outfits whenever new ones came in, most likely. Finally, sometime in the mid-2010s, they would receive the 2015 update, in which the walls would be repainted to a few different colors, the exterior would be changed to around Rockstar Chuck 1, and receive new art with Rockstar Chuck on it. Of course, this location would be well known for being the first location, and although the store was very different from how it used to be, it was still interesting going to visit what would have been a 40-year-old store in 2017. Even though the animatronics probably wouldn't have been in great shape, much like Cruiser's, it still would have been an interesting visit since, again, it was the first ever store. Unfortunately, I imagine CEC would not have cared, and when 2020 rolled around and they went bankrupt, I imagine that this store, just like Cruiser, would have been closed. I also imagine that with how old the building was, it would have started to have run into issues by this point as well. Whether it would have been demolished or not by now, I'm not sure, but this goes to show that even if the first store had stuck around, it wouldn't have survived the lack of care CEC had for its legacy in the modern day. Now, let's go over what would have happened if the Warblets were never retired. The Warblets were essentially prop characters that sang backup vocals for the Pizza Time players. They were there for the original Portrait Bots and stayed up until the rocker stage was introduced, in which they would begin to be phased out. I don't know when they would be fully gone, but I can't imagine they would have stuck around past the early 90s. I imagine the new designs for the Warblettes, with the white feathered birds over the black feathered ones, would have worked nicely for the new house stages, and could have been reinstalled onto the stage over the flowers. When the Munchies Make Believe Band era rolled around, though, things had to change. They would now wear a light blue version of the dress that Helen wore, replacing the pink with the light blue color. They would also sit above Helen, as the implication was to be that Helen and the Warblettes were related in some way, as they retained their white feather design through this conversion. They still provided backup vocals and weren't significant to the show, but they did stick around, serving a similar purpose to the Three Stages prop characters, and providing backup vocals. In fact, new ones would be created by Animation World slash Kinetics for new 1 stages and 2 stages. These would be the same as the converted Pizza Time Theater versions, but just be newer bots. These would stop being produced by the late 90s and begin to be removed in the 2000s, and over time their numbers would dwindle until nowadays I imagine there would be only a few left. They would also not receive much representation in the modern show tapes and fall into obscurity in that era. But hey, at least more private collectors would probably have Warblets, right? So this idea was actually presented to me in two parts. The first being the idea I just showed you, but also added onto the idea of what would have happened if Studio C-bots were never made, which is too big of an idea to include in this video in my opinion, so we're just going to stick with the cyberamic part of it. Say corporate decided to allow their manufacturers to continue making shows for franchisees that wanted the show over the Studio C stages. Maybe it would have been a cheaper option, seeing as by this point, I can't imagine the cyberamic stages were that expensive to make in comparison to a Studio C alpha stage. So the 1 and 2 stages would continue to be made for a few more years, in some cases replacing the former 3 stages. While this also happened occasionally in our actual timeline, it would have been more common here as it would have continued to have been made during the rollout of the initial Studio C stages. When the 16 movement bots came into the picture though, suddenly the cyberamic stages weren't so cheap in comparison, and the Studio Cs would have started to have been the new budget option for franchisees. Production of full cyberamic shows would stop by the late 2000s, with only parts for them being produced from then on out. Only Chuck, Helen, and Munch would receive new outfits in the 2000s, looking like their Avenger designs. Jasper and Pasquale's designs were similar enough, so they weren't updated. This is the only time characters other than Chuck would receive new clothing in this timeline. Things would essentially go the same way as they did in real life, though I imagine nowadays there would be more 1 and 2 stages around, though we would have also had some stages that got updated cosmetics for Munch and Helen, which would have been cool I guess. Thank you guys for watching this video. It was interesting coming up with these smaller timelines with smaller differences, though I enjoy doing it even if they were smaller ideas. My next video is going to be covering Gaithersburg, Maryland, which went through 4 to 5 different stage types. If you'd like to see that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you're notified when it drops. God bless, and I hope you all have a blessed day.